This is Grilled, the Staff Canteen podcast for chefs. My name is Anna Haugh, editor of the Staff Canteen, and in this episode we speak to Anna Haugh. Our deputy editor Tanny Dawn Hiscox gets an insight into Anna's new restaurant Myrtle and finds out what she really thinks about women in the kitchen.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about the story behind the name first? Because I know I've heard that it could be an ode to Myrtle Allen, who you said was a...
Yeah, so it's kind of like names of restaurants or names of any business that you can really overthink them and they can be really like personal and have all of these levels in it. But the truth is if people don't remember the name of your business, it's a shit name. So I was originally going to call the restaurant The Good Table when I first lived in Paris. I used to drive by my little moped, my little shitty cheap moped, and I used to pass by this place called the Bon Table, and I was like, one day my restaurant will be called The Good Table. And I would say to people, I'm going to call my restaurant The Good Table, and they were like, oh, The Good Table. I was like, yeah, it's a brilliant name, because like everybody wants a good table. But, I was like, oh my God, this is the best name ever. And I'd go back, and then they'd be like, oh, how's your restaurant? You know that the restaurant is and they start saying stuff like that. And nobody could ever remember the goddamn name. And I was like, this is a brilliant name, retards. Work harder, let's do this. And then it was especially like with friends or family, like people who really did care. So then I was like, gotta scratch that name. And then I was going around in loads of different circles, mispronunciation of stuff because of English and Irish stuff. And then I like restaurants like Medlar or, like they have like a name that's kind of associated with food but not called runner bean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Myrtle is a berry. Myrtle berry comes from the tree, obviously, and I like the sound of it. It's simple. It gives a clear message that when you think of, if you're going to, I'm going to restaurant Myrtle or Myrtle restaurant tonight, you're not going to be expecting pizza or noodles or burgers. You're kind of imagining that it's going to be something nice, and I think it gives that kind of information. Did I say that you should know overanalyze or look into too much? Oh, maybe I did. But yeah,
there's a lot to do.
But also, of course, Myrtle Allen is the greatest chef who's ever, the first greatest chef to come out of Ireland. So the idea of having that I didn't think anybody in England would really be picking up on it that much. That's more of an Irish thing. More for me, that it's like, I personally think that's such a cool thing to kind of in homage to her because she's such a legend, like such an incredible woman, like who's just created all of her own greatness. Now she might have come from a couple of quid, but she works really hard to break stereotypes and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like a few different reasons I've got that name. Is that too long? Do you want me to summarize that for you?
No, that's amazing. It's in one word you've managed to summarize so many things. I think that's it's very clever. So tell me about the food that you're going to be cooking.
So I'm trained in modern European with kind of French technique or, more leaning more towards France. So I love that kind of food. I'm never going to not love that food. So that's the kind of food I want to cook, but I want to do it with an Irish influence. And I want that to be like really clear, like I'm not calling myself a modern Irish restaurant. It is a modern European restaurant with an Irish influence. So the idea will be heavily focused on fantastic Irish produce. And then some Irish recipes that I like and I want to introduce now will be on the menu. And then as time goes on, if it's possible and to really kind of work on the idea of building up a bigger Irish repertoire, that's what I'll do. But the main focus is that I'm never trying to squeeze myself into any type of box. That I really am cooking the food that I love cooking. I don't want people to come and be disappointed that I don't have bikes hanging from the ceiling and pictures of old Guinness signs. It's not that kind of Ireland. It's definitely going to be a bit more subtle in its Irishness,
Yeah.
But it'll reflect more about my training than it will about anything else. So it'll be how I handle produce and stuff like that. But a big focus on Irish produce, as much as I can, and as sincerely as I can, not just kind of buying in some Kerrygold and some blanket Irish beef. It'll be like some really spectacular pieces.
No, I heard a program fairly recently on French radio, so they were talking about Irish produce and namely Irish cheese. And they're obviously, because they were French, they were all very, very surprised that Irish cheese is amazing, and that it's widely exported, and that it's increasingly popular around the world. Would you say that Irish produce is underrated, and that it sort of falls in the shadow of maybe French produce and Italian produce?
Absolutely. And the thing about it being, even the vocabulary of saying like it's underrated, it's not rated, if you know what I mean. So it's not like people have tried this produce and went, oh, that's not good enough. It's that they actually haven't had a chance to get their hands on it. It's like the secret that I think in the next 5 to 10 years is really going to change. It's especially with our political climate. I think the idea of there's more chances of England and Ireland having a better produce relationship than maybe some of the other countries in the European Union. But I think that there's beef, there's pork, there's cheese, there's small artisan farmers that are just unheard of. They're not known, and they only deal in their own local. Like the best place to go just to see what's happening is the Burn. I can't get over when I go over there. I'm like, there is just so much magic over there. Magic, like it's just incredible. Like the signature dish of the restaurant will be a stuffed boxty dumpling. So boxty is like an old Irish kind of dish, and there's 3 varieties of it. There's a dumpling variety, there's like a pancake crack variety, and there's a farro variety. And they all have the same ingredients, but just with different measures. So they're all made with eggs, mashed potato, and raw potato, and then depending on what way it's going to go, and flour. So depending on which one it is, it either gets more flour, less flour, and a bit of milk, more milk, less milk, blah, blah, blah. So my signature dish is a stuffed boxty dumpling with braised beef. And I buy the whole cow from the Burn, so which is a pretty big thing to do, because have you ever seen the size of that cow? Have you ever seen a lamb or a deer on a workbench to break down an animal? It's huge, fucking huge. So the idea of a cow like would take up a room. If a cow was lying on its side, it would take up my sitting room. They're that big, and you just can't quantify it when you see them in a field, in this big open space. Anyway, that's irrelevant. So I have to buy the cows whole. So I'll probably use, I'm assuming, just over a quarter cow a week or so. And so there's a butcher in Ireland who's going to take care of it for me. He's going to buy the cows, and then he's got an abattoir. And so he'll buy them as I need them, slaughter them, and then hang the prime cuts to be aged, and then the braising beef will be the first thing to be sent over. So the reason why I went with the Burn beef is that in the Burn, they've reinvested in an ancient farming technique that was used in Ireland like hundreds of years ago. Like before we were building houses, they had this farming technique down. And it's basically, during the summer months, they feed the cattle on the grass. And then once it gets into the colder months, the limestone, because the whole of the Burn is just limestone. So the limestone, which is just beside the grass, has absorbed all of the heat from the sun during the summer. So during the winter, they all move on to the warmer part, and they're never indoors. So the idea that they're never fed hay or anything like that, that they're eating off the land. Now, if they did it the other way around, if they fed the cattle on the limestone during the summer, it would destroy. There's fucking so much flowers and fauna that are on that. And per square foot, there's like 34 different kind of herbs and plants and flowers per square foot. It's just a magical, little deliciousness, a buffet for them to eat off. So if they ate that during the summer, it would kill it off and it would die. Yeah. So it's just like magic that they figured out this before.
It sounds like they have a healthier diet than me.
I think everybody's got a healthier diet than me. Even though I think I'm good, I can be so bad. But yeah, so that's the beef that I plan to use. And then, obviously I'll have to supplement that beef with some other beef if I want to continue to do maybe some prime cut steaks and stuff, because out of one cow you get 2 fillets. That's not going to even do you a service. But I am hoping to, where it's possible, to really be very, very aware of where I'm getting my beef from. Because lots of beef out there is Irish, but sure, it could come from any country and it would be the same standard. It doesn't necessarily mean it's better just because it's from Ireland. It really does matter about the farm. And yeah, and then the pigs, hopefully in May, there's like an organic pig farm where I pick the piglets out and they rear them and we slaughter them in November. And then just little things like where I get my carrots from or where I get my potatoes from. They're from small little farmers that are all part of this kind of co-op, I think is the best thing to describe it. It's like they're like, or an umbrella. No, it's more like an umbrella of really small producers. When I say small, I mean that they can supply restaurants, but they're not able to necessarily, let's say, to supply supermarkets. And they get together and that they'll do a delivery a few times a week over kind of underneath this thing called, I think it's Sussy. Sussy is the kind of supplier who's connecting all of the farms together. But anyway, I found some of these women when I did pop-up at Selfridges, and I was trying to find, good Irish carrots or good Irish potatoes because, I'm trying to, and it just turned out that a lot of the people behind this produce are women. So the farm is usually owned by the husband and the wife, and let's say the husband is doing the big farming stuff, with all the tractors and all that shit. And then a lot of these women have started up a kind of more smaller artisan produce kind of led idea to try to supplement the money that the family's making. And it's just incredible that there's a lot going on in Ireland that people just don't know about yet.
It's really interesting.
So I'm hoping to be able to use Irish produce as much as possible, but also the produce over here is still fantastic. So I'm not some sort of gobshite that you know what I mean. I may as well move over to Ireland and only open a restaurant there if I felt that strongly about it. That I still think there's fabulous things from Scotland and from England as well. And so it's not just Irish produce. It'll be produce from here as well.
And why did you choose London and not anywhere else?
I fell in love with an Englishman. And attracted me here. I'm like Rapunzel with short hair, and I'm not trapped in the tower. I'm trapped in a restaurant. That's the God honest truth. That I fell in love with an Englishman, and he has a son who is 14, and it would just never even enter my mind to ask him to move to Ireland with me because his son is here. So you know what I mean. I would never do that. So yeah, whether I liked it or not, this is my home for the next 5 years or so until your man goes to college, university.
Let's hope he's worth the expensive rent then.
He is. But and also I really fallen in love with London. London has been very kind to me over the years. I've been here a long time, like maybe 16 years. And it took me a bit to settle in, but that was also because I chose a particularly aggressively hard kitchen to work in for the first couple of years. So it took me a while to really settle in to the magic of the city. But now, I love London. It's not home, it's not Dublin, but I love London. I really do. Enjoy living here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful city.
Yeah, it is. Loads of my friends are here. Even friends from Ireland. My sister lives here. Little Dublin it is, or Big Dublin. I don't know what to call it. But yeah.
Big, slightly less friendly.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I'm a big fan of you see what you want to see. When I came over here, everybody was like, they're all assholes. You'll be mugged. People will rob you. People like you. Nobody will look you in the eye. When everybody's on the tube, they're all so miserable. Blah, 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 blah. And I came over here and I was like, it's so wonderful. Everybody's so nice. There's no transport. And well, there might be transport now in Ireland, but we didn't have transport where you face to person when you're on the bus. So if you looked at everybody on the bus...
facing forward.
Yeah, everyone's all facing forward in Dublin bus. I'd say all their faces are exactly the same as the faces on the tube. They're tired. They've just woken up and they're heading into work. Probably hungover. Nobody's, smiling and winking at each other and going, how are you? You're not like that, in the morning. But yeah, I think sometimes London gets a bit of a hard rap. I have 100 stories of where I've been protected and I've been taken care of at times, when I asked for nothing and was really looked after by loads of different situations over here. So, I don't have any bad stories, really.
And you've lived in Paris, so you know what it's like there as well.
Paris is, some bits of Paris, you're like, that is scary, they're not all wearing berets and smoking cigarettes on long sticks. They are there's a lot of, depending on, I chose to live as nice an area as possible as I could afford. So I pretty much spent most of my salary on my flat, which was tiny. It was it was probably the size of my sitting room I'm sitting in now, so you could barely fit a cow in it, right? It was so tiny, my flat. But I loved Paris. I did love Paris. But sometimes I would fall asleep on the tube on my way home, and that was I was afraid in Paris in a way that I haven't really been afraid in London. I'd wake up in a tube stop and homeless people live on the underground, but not like homeless people who have fallen on hard times. They're homeless people who are long-term homeless. So there's possibly, mental health issues, Yeah. And that's kind of scary because people are unpredictable, So there'd be times I could be on a tube stop on my own, and there would just be homeless people all around me. It was a bit scary, yeah. But I love Paris. I love everything. It's very hard for me not to like it. If I ever say I don't like a person, if I ever say someone's an asshole, it's really liking that person is the worst person in the universe. It takes a lot for me not to like a person.
Could you, in as few words as possible, I know that's difficult to come this far, talk me through the process, from the idea to finding a location, to finding funding, to putting a team together, promoting it, and I don't know if you set a launch date, but getting to that point where, okay, now you're ready, and you set launch date and you're ready to go.
I would be so interested to hear what other people's experiences were, but my hardest, most difficult challenge was just getting the site. That was the hardest thing, because I'd no prior, reputation of opening my own restaurant. This is my first one. So most landlords just didn't want to take a gamble with me. And then, a lot of places there's very high premiums, and, it was really, really, really difficult to find the right place. And then once you find the right place, you think that's grand. But organising the lease, all of that, getting the right solicitor, extremely hard. Having to do admin in a way that you've never had to do before, because I'm a chef, I love cooking, and I'm a real hands-on chef. So, of course, I always do well on my paperwork and my health and safety and my TPs. Of course, they're all great. But that is nothing compared to the admin that is involved with opening a restaurant. And the experience of opening a restaurant, so far, not pleasant. Would not recommend it. Don't do it. Because all I want to do is cook the food that I love cooking, to take care of customers in the way that I want to take care of customers. I don't want to do any of this shit. I don't want to have to be checking out different accountants and investigating whether one's going to rip me off or, what are the packages. I don't care about the booking system. I don't care about the terms, head of terms that are with signing a lease. I don't care about them, but I have to care about them because I'm opening a restaurant. So my experience has been not stressful. I don't really experience stress, I think, like the way some people do. But I definitely would say I have to constantly slap myself in the face and go, pay attention, Anna, wake up. No. Because I can be easily distracted, like a ADHD kid who's jacked up on sugar. That's me most of the day.
Yeah, I think the most creative minds are like that.
Well, I don't know how creative I am either. I think I'm all smoke. But I have to say it's been really hard. But I wonder, if you asked me that same question in a year or two, would I actually have a more articulate, romantic synopsis of it? Because I'm still so in the thick of it. I'm still deciding on church pews for the seating and which fucking forks I'm going to buy, because I don't have any money. And will people just use their hands? They need cutlery. It's terrifying. And I went through different investors. I looked at different people to help me, support my dream. And it really boiled down to one thing, and it was money. They were going to give me money, and then I was going to have to give them money. And it's not like a loan. It was going to be more like they were giving me money as in a money, as we understand money. But the money I would have to give back to them would not be as money. It would have to be as part of my dream. So there'd be a chance that if some dishes weren't making enough money, well, I wouldn't be able to put them on because I'd have to make a certain GP to be able to repay them. Or they might not like that idea and would prefer me not to do that. Or they might say, listen, you have to open a second restaurant, that's part of the deal. And all of these complicated things. And I didn't want any of that. What I wanted was full control, because I'm a control freak. I love being in charge. I love telling people what to do. I don't like to be told what to do. So I decided to do it on my own. So I had my savings, and then I went to the bank to get a loan. And so everything is on my back, which is, in theory, brilliant, because you're like, yes, I get to be the, captain of my own destiny. But then also it's like, I don't care. Like I said, there's so many things I don't care about, but there's nobody else to do it but me. and I don't have any money to pay people to do it. So I've got to do it myself. But I prefer, if something was wrong and it was my decision, I can live with that.
Yeah.
If something is wrong and it's somebody else's decision, I hate that. And some people really like that. They prefer not. They hate to be in the wrong. But I hate giving up power to somebody and then them to be wrong, especially if you feel in your heart, I don't think that's the right way to do that. So, I think everything will be okay. Once I manage to stay, I've been very, very conservative in my predictions of how busy I'll be. So once it dies down, after you first open and you've got your busy kind of month or two, once it dies down, once it's a reasonably, 30 for lunch and 30 for dinner type thing, I'll be okay. I'll be okay with that. But through the whole process, you're constantly reevaluating, re-adding up how much staff you need, how many covers you need to do, how many seats you're going to squeeze in. And for the last, because I've had this site since the summer, it's just going around and around and around in your head, because you're just second guessing yourself constantly. Because once you sign on the dotted line, once you buy those chairs, once you hire those staff, once you open those doors for business, that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
And if you've got your maths wrong, you'll be closed within the year. And I have no intention of being closed within a year. In fact, I want to be one of those restaurants that, when I've got my other, my empire sparkling all over the place, I want this to still be open and to be the original. I want to still have this.
Lastly, do you think it's inherently harder for women to be successful as a chef? And if so, do you think that's something that's inherent to the trade? Do you think it's something that's biological? And if not, why do you think that there are still fewer women in the industry? Sorry, that's like 10 questions in one question.
Well, I think, you know me, I like to answer 10 questions with one answer, so you're grand. I was going to start off with a joke talking about women's brains being smaller, but no, I don't think it's harder to be a woman in the kitchen. I don't. I mean, in theory, if you look at all the facts and how things are, the logistics of what running a kitchen is, suppliers, dealing with staff, all of that, there's zero reason at all that women have a harder time than men. Zero. The only thing that changes that to the truth of what it is the mindset of people. The idea of gang mentality, or always looking for a person to reflect you. And that's really normal. It's a survival mechanism. So that when you see a young chef in the kitchen and you see that they're a good chef and maybe they're fast or they're very organized or they've got a really good palate, you're looking for probably something that's in you, that reflects you in that person. And that's the person that you're going to bank on. You're going to encourage that person a little bit more than the person who could maybe be as good as them, but they're just not the same as you. And that's really a big thing. An old-fashioned idea is that a big man, a tall man, is the boss. And men really react very well to tall, broad, strong men because it's protective. And a lot of chefs, when they come into kitchens, are young, so they're looking for father figures there. Yeah. And that's where I think the biggest challenge for women is that we are small, we are slight, most of us. And I think for men who are small and slight, they have almost exactly the same hard time as women. And the only way they can make up for it is by overcompensating with, their humor or with their antics or, with how their bravado. Some people don't want to be led. That, they don't even know that they don't want to be led. It just, it's difficult. And if you are physically big and broad, people just react better to that. But it's I do think it is more complicated than that. I think a big thing is it's like comedy is almost at the same time. Comedy is going through the same thing. Where when I love comedy. I've always loved comedy as a hobby. I would go to live gigs since I can remember, since I was of age. And you would never really see funny women, and then men would, because I knew loads of funny women my whole life, and men would be like, yeah, but women aren't funny, and I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, because I'd be around women and tears would be coming out of my eyes laughing. So I don't understand how they would say that women aren't funny. And then all it was that nobody gave the women the microphone. Nobody gave them a chance to compete with the funniest men in the world. So therefore, any women comics that were out there weren't really their game wasn't up, because to become the best in the world, you have to be competing with the best in the world, competing against people who are good. Because if you are a brilliant chef, if you're the best chef in the world, but you're only cooking food beside people who do mediocre food, you won't actually fulfill your potential. You won't. I mean, okay, there might be one in a million, like Massimo, somebody who really just is able to smash kind of all barriers and molds. But most people, they will only fulfill their potential if they are in the right environment for them to flourish. So now, if you look on television, there's so many hilarious women who are getting a chance to kind of compete with the men. And the more I see them on the shows, on the panels, it's just, it's enlightening and it's brilliant. And I think the same has to happen with chefs, that female chefs have got to be seen just as a chef. Those who are able will, and those who won't. And there's all different grades of chefs. But there's no reason why there's nothing physical to stop us. The most heartbreaking thing is when men believe that we don't belong somewhere. And it's really heartbreaking, because kind, lovely, wonderful men sometimes say shit like that. Like, I can't believe when Tom Kerridge said that the reason why women haven't succeeded as well as men is because we don't have enough passion, we don't have enough fire. At an event where Claire Smith was. So he's training the next generation of brilliant, talented leaders in the kitchens. And he is never hiring women. He's never given a chance to women, because obviously this is why he would see it as a waste of time. So he's really damaging the industry, and him and all of his friends he would talk to. He was so confident in saying that. So it wouldn't have been the first time it's come out of his mouth. That's a conversation he's had in the past. And stuff like that is dangerous, because that's ignorance. He hasn't worked around enough women to know that what he said is false. And once he'd work around women, I think he is the type of character who would be like, look, I was wrong, because he's a nice man. So it's just, there's a lot of ignorance and a lot of confusion and misleading information that makes it harder to be heard. And sadly, you need to be the type of character that, well, not sadly, it is the industry, it's a hard industry. You have to be able to hold your own. You have to be able to go, no, fuck you, not true. And if you can't do that, you will end up just being broken by it.
And who do you think the onus is on? Who do you think is responsible for encouraging more people to join the industry that, not necessarily just women, but as you were saying, people that might be slighter, or that might be from groups that qualify them as being a little bit different to the group. Who do you think is responsible for creating that diversity?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I know that when I wanted to be a chef, my father told me, he was so angry. He was like, no! And my dad had always been like, anything you want to be in life, your mammy and I will be there. We will make sure, no matter what you need, we will help you to become who you want to become. And he just saw it as being very male-dominated. And my dad looked at it as being like just not suitable for a woman, because a lot of male-dominated areas are disrespectful to women and are vulgar to women as well. My dad would be quite old-fashioned, yet he raised me, who I am, is a reflection of my parents, But he still would be quite old-fashioned and concerned. So I think that I didn't see that information when I was heading into the kitchens. I didn't expect that. So that was somebody else telling me that I couldn't do it before I got in. So I think if there was a better portrayal of women, obviously in the media or at the awards, if there was genuine successful women searched out and were given a voice, I think it would be more chance that not women, but small people, like as in you can represent more than one thing. Then people see themselves in that person and then think, I can do it too. So the same as for the people you encourage is the same the people who are inspired. We're all looking for a reflection of ourselves. That's just human nature, birds of a feather. Yeah. And now some people get excited by diversity and different things. I love the idea of diversity. I mean, I absolutely do. But no matter what, when I was younger, the idea of Myrtle or another female chef, there's so many female chefs that I love, Helen Ross and Angela Hartnett, like they would have been my two first real big, girl crushes, on chefs. And, and Sophie Pick, and there's also many brilliant women now. But I needed to see them to fully believe in what my future could hold when I got older. When I was younger, I just was cooking. I was just cooking. I didn't care. Didn't want to leave the job. Nobody's going to make me leave the job. But I don't think that that's the same for everybody. Not everybody is the same as me. And I do think the more females you see in senior chef roles, talked about and filmed and you know, on social media in a positive light, the more women that will go, well, I think I could be like her. I could do that. Like, that's about everything. Like, why are the Irish good at boxing? It's not that it's actually innately in us. It's just that originally we did have the bare knuckle fighting as a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So there was loads of examples of somebody who knew somebody's uncle or cousin or somebody related to them, and they thought, well, that might be in my blood, so maybe I could be a boxer. And that's what it all comes down to, that you feel a similarity to somebody, so therefore you think you can succeed. So that's really what will only increase more kind of females getting to senior roles, is actually by them seeing senior women in senior roles.
Yeah.
It's like a tongue twister.
And the flip side of my previous question then would be, what advice would you give to a young aspiring female chef who may be hesitating between two career choices, wants to be a chef maybe, but is, you know, on that edge and a little bit scared and doesn't know whether to take the leap?
I'll be honest with you, I've never met a girl who's ever asked me advice like that. I've never met a young female chef who said, I just don't know if I should do this because it's scary. Never met them. I don't think they exist. I don't think they exist. I think that what exists is that girls who don't know if they should actually be a chef, is that a possible job that they could do? That's the more, because I think once you go into the kitchen and do your trial, you're just excited. I've never seen a girl after doing a trial saying, I'm excited, I don't know if I can do this. I've never seen, ever, but I have seen girls kind of going, can I be a chef? Is that like is that
an option?
It's more like a real life question. Where the question you've asked me, I've been asked that a lot. What advice would you give a young girl? And I said, give the exact same advice I'd give to the guys, which is, it sucks. You've got to cook
don't do it, run away.
years before you understand anything. Just think you know how to handle an egg yolk or temper chocolate or cook a piece of meat. You then have to cook a different type of meat and temper a different type of chocolate and make something different with your egg yolk, and all of it goes wrong. You only become a great chef through all of your mistakes. So you have to fuck up every single recipe 10 times, and then you're a master of that recipe. And that's the only way you learn. So that's the same advice I give any chef, man or a woman. And then with the girls, I mean, the only thing I would ever worry about with girls is that you feel like you don't belong sometimes. If you've got 10 men and one of you, the only advice I'd say is just on your days off, take care of yourself. Like, get back to your friends. You know, make sure that you have friendship in your life, because I was very lonely the first 2 years when I cooked. It was really, really, really hard. Over here, 2 years over here, it was very hard because I'm very sociable and I'm used to being, you know, getting along with people and having lots of friends. And then it was just like, hey guys, you want to go on the lunch break? And they'd be like, yeah, we'll see, you know, the blah, blah. And I'd turn up and nobody'd be there.
Oh.
They'd have all gone somewhere else.
That's so mean.
And I'd like, the realization, well, I'll just have a Diet Coke here. So one thing I would say that I did want to fit in, but I never tried too hard to fit in. As in, I still was myself, you know. That wasn't conscious. That was just, I just did that. Kitchen is very lonely. And I say that for girls, but I see it with the boys. They have the same loneliness. They have the same thing of trying to fit in and having nobody to go on a break with. So I say that as for the girls, but the truth is, I'm only saying that because there might be one of them in 10 boys or one of them in 9 boys. But ageism is a disgusting thing in kitchens, and something I always try to fight back on. That if somebody is older and they're willing to work for the salary that I'm going to pay them as a commie chef and the hours, if they're willing to do it and they've got the right attitude, I'll hire a person.
Yeah. But
the kitchen, the kids never react well to an older person. An older person who's not more knowledgeable than them, they respect them less because they expect them to know more because they're older. So there's all sorts of groups that basically nobody fits in. Nobody fits in the kitchen. Everybody is just battling to just kind of click. So, I mean, if you manage your kitchen well, you encourage, you know, community, and you encourage inclusion and being kind to each other and competing in healthy ways, not in you know, negative ways. Yeah. So it's really, you know, the leadership is so important to create those kind of environments, because it is a very, very hostile, fragile environment in the wrong hands.
And have you got a team already for?
No, I have some people. Yes, of course, I've got some people ready, but I'm quite easygoing. Once I have just over a month the exact date for my opening, that's when I just send out all my job offers and stuff like that, because it's such a fickle industry. And I've had the site since the summer. I thought it was going to open in October, and then I was like, oh, definitely January. Oh, definitely February. Oh, definitely March. So if I'd hired anybody properly over that time, well, there was one that I did hire, and then she took another job somewhere else. They'd have gone on other jobs. Yeah. So the idea that with our kind of industry, except for maybe head chefs or whatever, you kind of have to hire when you're ready to hire them, when you're ready to take them on, because then they give their notice in 2 weeks to a month, whatever the average is, and then they start work with you. Where if you give them too much, they can't wait. They'll end up giving in their notice, leaving, and taking a job somewhere else because they have to. Terrible industry that we have.
You love it, really.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I always say, like, I define myself first as a chef and second as a woman, and that's really, and that I believe that before I even understood that about, like, properly about feminism or about, you know, my identity. I knew I loved being a chef more than anything. Maybe Irish first, then a chef. That's how I define myself.
Well, I look forward to seeing it once it's up and running.
I look forward.
Probably wait for it to quieten down, or at least, you know, before you get awards and it gets busy again.
Well, you know, awards are wonderful things, but they're never going to be anything that I'm going to purposely search out, ever. I just feel that past places that I've worked, really, really brilliant restaurants that I've worked, and their kind of obsession with winning or maintaining those awards were so, contradictory of the way I believe I am as a person, which is when I go into work in the morning, I want to create the most delicious food and give someone the most loveliest experience. If that starts changing, going, well, I really should use this produce because that's kind of the in thing to use, or that's what the guide would like, or, you know, if you start cooking because you think a certain particular group of people who are not your core demographic, they're not the people coming every day. If you are catering for people that might come to your restaurant once or twice a year, something's really wrong. Yeah, like, I think that's really wrong. And like, the fullest respect for all of the guides. I don't look. I think they're brilliant things, and I think it's an amazing accomplishment. But you should only get it by cooking, like, from the heart and how you believe it should be. So that's my main focus is to be a successful business. Take care of my customers, give them what they want, and hopefully be able to cook the food I love in the process. I can't believe I didn't mention this. The self-doubt, self-hatred, and annoyance of trying to do your own thing. I cannot put it into words. You just feel like a failure, even though you're in the midst of doing something really special. So I have not been very as sociable in chef networks as I normally would be, because I just dreaded the questions. I was like, I fucking don't know when the poxy thing's going to happen. and you know, and then so I'm like, am I going to lose the site? Oh, I don't have this conversation. And there's so much self-doubt. There's just so much self-doubt, and you really have to be kind to yourself, like when you're pushing yourself on. And if I didn't have my boyfriend to give me the hugs and tell me, you're great, keep going, everything's all right, I couldn't do it. Like, you need that person, be it a boyfriend or a best friend or a parent or an auntie or whatever. You need that person in your life that really scoops you up and says, keep going, keep going. You know, you can do this.
They always say the advice you should give yourself is the advice that you'd give to, you know, your friends and loved ones if they were in the same situation as you. So you have to. Yeah.
And the thing is that the advice you give yourself, you're horrible. I don't know about you, but I'm nasty. I say stuff to myself that, like, if you said it out loud, I mean, it must be some sort of crime. Like, it's so bad. Thanks a million for the chat today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this interview, and if you have any comments, feel free to tweet us or comment on the post. We're making all of our interviews available to download, and the next one is with Brad Carter, and he's sharing the inspiration behind his new book, Staff. Finally, if you like what we do, please head over to our Patreon page and support us there.